This is Sunday in May. I've forgotten what today is. I believe it's the 9th or 8th of May, 2018. Watching Law and Order here on TV on Island. Well, on TV. The problem is about torture of prisoners of war. And they're debating that the president has the right to do so and what they call torture. Well, you all kidnapped me, and I'm going to shut the door because I'm not allowed to come out and tell what's happened to me. So, excuse me while I shut the door. Because I've never had a civil right. And I'm going to shut this down for a minute. I shut the door because somebody going by might hear and complain, call me names, or that I'm nuts or something. I'd like to know what you define as torture. It's something being done to you, maybe, or a prisoner of war that's supposed to be a criminal, a terrorist. Well, let me remind you again that I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and my father's Edward VIII. My mom's Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, school teacher from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe, because you deleted her too. So I used Georgia, a beautiful lady, but my mom was Queen of England in 1936. My father never abdicated to Mary Wallace Simpson. He had nothing to do with her. My father had integrity, and he wouldn't go along with the Illuminati, your crooks, your terrorists. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, and I know that somebody's listening to didn't quite close the door, did I? Anyway, the Kennedys, JFK helped kidnap me, and his son actually came up on the mountain when I was living on the Appalachian Trail. He and his cousin, that's Jackie's sister's son. And I said, I'm afraid to even say anything. I was told to put it up on YouTube years ago, and I have, and on Facebook, but it hasn't done me any good. Anyway, your idea of a terrorist, is anybody who doesn't comply with your wishes, and if the Americans don't like what you're saying, they'll go after you. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. So, anyway, I'm looking because there's somebody out there. And I had the door open, and I know how people take the truth here. But they were talking on there about people who are terrorists, the United States deems terrorists, and waterboarding and all this with me. They took down my father with character assassination. Well, they did it to my mom. I mean, they just deleted her, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Cosmos Lang. And you know what gets into being weird? Well, not weird, it's with all this other patterns that fit together after a while, like the Geneva Convention and the Hague, that are later, by the United States, supposed to protect your right. The treaties of war crimes in the Netherlands, that's the headquarters. You've got Kissinger and all these that are head of that. They're the ones that have done it to me. And Kissinger, I put this up here, that sorry man was Secretary of State. Hague was just above him, and and thus the Bloomingdale tapes and all that. On the Bloomingdale tapes was Kissinger, and he was I was laid out there on the bed, a hospital bed. They're not moving, so anyway. Victor Gonzalez, who's still in practice, I might say, if he's not dead. The last time I checked, he was in practice in Marietta, Georgia. And that's where I used to live when I was doing the book. But he was first at on Cliff Valley Way may still be. And how many people did he rape? They don't put this on TV. And there was a suit filed. I put all this up against him, and it gets just weird if you call it. It didn't even touch on what happened. First of all, you got a false. Oh God, you can't. I'm going to skip it. Maybe it'll be told because there were other. There was children involved. He's a child psychiatrist, and he impregnated at least one or two other girls that I've heard of. So he should be called. What's the name for him? He's a psychopath, but the name for him is what? He's a predator. He pedophilia. You name it. In psychiatry, when a person goes to him, whether they're a child or not, and he rapes them, because that's exactly what it is. I guess they don't call them by what they are. They let them keep their license and go on doing it. But anyway, on the Watergate tapes in '72, I was put there, and well, they're not moving, are they? They were going to do a lobotomy on me, and I had been given a cup of coffee that had something that rendered me. I knew what they were doing, but I couldn't move. I was drugged in there, and I put this all on there. It's when this so-called doctor had a Delta Oldsmobile, brand new one. So he had been at, I say this because people watch the timeline. JFK helped in my kidnapping. His dad was appointed by a Jew, and I'm not allowed to say this. Can you believe this? I put this up and I get things back. How dare you say this about the Jews? Tell the truth? Well, that's all I've told. Nothing but the truth. Roosevelt was a Jew. His whole family got into with Winston Churchill's mother was an American. I mean, that is so sad. He was prime minister. He helped in the takedown of my father and my kidnapping. Roosevelt appointed Joe Kennedy, JFK's father, as ambassador to England, 36 till he was kicked out in 46. For the very reason of being there and taking down my father. He wouldn't go along with the Illuminati, your mafia, your Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, part of my own family. Elizabeth's father was more than happy to take the position that was given him, made available by the Illuminati. My father wouldn't follow the orders and take orders from him. They took him down. Then they kidnapped me they planned it in '39, and they actually kidnapped me in '41, brought me to Moulton, Alabama, near Huntsville. That's your space program started with Werner von Braun. What price a hostage, right? I mean, they didn't just bring me over here. They could just kill me and done that. I was already queen the minute I was born because of papers my father signed. He never meant to leave. And anyway, JFK came up. I actually lived on the Appalachian Trail for years and years here, near Roanoke, and traveling up and down there. And he showed up about the second year I was up there, and it was spring. And I've come to think of it, this was about the time my husband died, 93, 94 spring. And I've had trouble even getting any money from his policy because during all this trying to kill me, he became a part of it, supposedly. Well, he did. I'm not sure whose side he was on at the moment. I've wondered. But anyway, JFK come up there and walked up the old trail. That's the spring, so this dates it before the Appalachian Trail finished the new trail from Mountain Pass near the post office and traveled up to Full Heart Knob, which is like Alpha and Omega. Okay, so they put their backpacks down and said he was JFK and his cousin. And all I'm going to say there is they took out their peanuts and their things and ate in front of me. And they knew, well, of course they had listened to what they said. JFK Jr. said, we came to see how we made you live. So they left. And then later, is God up there somewhere or someone? JFK went down in the plane with his wife. And I think she was she was a twin. And then the other one died 12 days later with a rare cancer. His cousin, that would be Radswell. Jackie's sister married into what was called the royal family. They weren't really royal, but they married into it, and thus Camelot. Can you believe it? They talk about Camelot now. They've got this young woman marrying Harry, who's probably not a Diana. It's probably not even a Windsor. He's marrying this woman that everybody's in love with, and she's supposedly going to be a princess. She's she's a movie star. She's been married once, etc., etc., and everybody loves her. Can you believe or wonder if God makes it to tell the truth about this whole mess? Lay it out there. Somebody does. That they've got the Queen of England here, and what you all have done to me, are doing to me and my sons who are heirs, not Charles, not Elizabeth, not their father, who was a rotten crook, George the Illegal Sixth, put there by the Mafia, Illuminati, global government. So let me go back to this. That's what's up there now. And people from here can't wait to go over there for this wedding and for the birth of this baby who's not they should be taken down, and they're war criminals. Anyway, I want to get back to real quick to the 18-minute gap that was when I worked for the district attorney. After that almost killed me April Fool Day of 80. They role-played the Watergate tapes. They were subpoenaed, and that's why Henry Kissinger was on it, and I was laid out if my country or family didn't come through with the ransom money, then I would be lobotomized. And then again, in April Fool Day of 80, they used something else that should have killed me by all means. So that's just a couple of things out of my whole life, and what they did to my sons, Mark and Scott, is a horror story. Now you tell me why America thinks it's okay to kidnap a monarch. And by the way, my mom was an American. The O'Keefe saw her. And she's not on any magazine covers. They stole her name in history and my father's. They're calling him names that he married Wallace Simpson. Total lie. You've got Elizabeth up there who's always known this. She was 15 when I was kidnapped. She's always known the truth. She's never, all these years, she's enjoyed my money and what was my position in life, not hers. She works for Illuminati, not for the British. And she's illegal. So there's other things. Hammond Miller was a doctor I went to right after I'd had my sons in Huntsville. We'd moved back. It's what he and his German Jew wife set out and knew that was going on. That was illegal, and torture is the highest realm. Nobody has done anything about any of it other than me. I've been kept penniless, and torture doesn't even cover what they did to me and my sons, to Mark, who's there after me, and then Scott. I don't even know where they are now. If they're alive, I hope so. King Edward VIII, a beautiful man, needs his rightful place in history, and so does my mom, me, and my children, in this horror story told about the criminals that did it to us. I was watching this program, and it is bordering on telling about the United States waterboarding and torture. If you say anything to the Americans about they're the ones that are committing torture, well, they'll just go after you again. The last years they've used making me homeless and the fact that I'm allergic to chemicals. I have an autoimmune disorder. And I'm getting very sick, and over years when I've been placed where I was forced to inhale toxic fumes. It tears my body, kidneys, everything apart, much less the way I feel. So my life has been a living hell, and so was my kids. I hope theirs is better. I hope they're alive, and I wish to God that this would be the end of it all. And the truth is laid out there, and America has to deal with the aftermath, and that would take God. So I'm going to leave it at that right now. You can call me names if you want to. That's all that's ever been done to me. I can't use my real name. I live in fear, and I'm living a life in hell anyway, every day.